Welcome to Dark Horizon Creations. I'm Mike. This time we're taking a look at the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Slave 1 by Jazzwares. Now, if you hadn't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to my social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get a notification of when I post new content. I have to say, I am really enjoying the Micro Galaxy Squadron line by Jazzware. This has become my new favorite line of Star Wars toys to collect. And this is now the second toy in this line that I am reviewing. So here we have the launch edition of Slave 1 in the Micro Galaxy Squadron Series 1 from Jazzware. Yes, that's right, I said Slave 1. If you don't like it, go watch someone else's video because that is the name of the spaceship. It is a Fire Spray class patrol boat, and it is Slave 1, whether you like it or not. This thing is awesome. And if you guys are adult collectors and you recall the Star Wars Action Fleet line by Galoob, you will instantly realize that this ship is much larger than the Action Fleet version. One of the most prominent features about these toys is that each of the ships and vehicles are designed and produced in scale to each other to what they would actually be in universe. They have taken the actual dimensions and technical specifications from Lucasfilm and used that to design and produce each toy so that they are all correctly scaled to the ships smaller and larger than they are. To those lengths to produce accurately scaled toys. You might see that in the gaming community with miniatures, but you won't see it with other toy lines, particularly 1/18th scale ships from Star Wars. Jazzware has completely changed that with the Micro Galaxy Squadron line. Now we have a line of collectible ships and figures that are correctly proportionate and scaled to each other just as they would be in universe. So to begin, let's talk about the packaging. I love the window box display that they have packaged these ships in. It is really, really nice. You've got the Star Wars banner in the upper left, the Micro Galaxy Squadron in the lower center, and just below that on each of the packaging, you have the description of the toy inside. The upper right, you've got the launch edition sticker, and then the lower left inset, you can see the two action figures which are included, Boba Fett and Fennec Shan. On the back of the packaging, you've got some obligatory product shots of the features on the toy, including the rotating cockpit, rotating gun turrets, the extending ramp, as well as the sonic mine dispenser and the rotating stabilizers. Down at the bottom, there are some of the ships and vehicles in Series 1 of the Micro Galaxy Squadron. Light armor class, you've got the TIE Fighter, the AT-ST, the Starfighter class. You can see Obi-Wan Starfighter with the hyperspace ring, the T-65 X-Wing, as well as Darth Vader's experimental TIE Fighter. And in the Starship class, you can see the Razor Crest. Okay, so we've got Slave 1 outside of the packaging, and I want to point out two things very quickly. First and foremost, there was no instruction sheet included with Slave 1 as there was with the Millennium Falcon. I don't know if they just forgot to put it in the box or it intentionally did not include one. The second thing I want to point out is the insert that you see inside the packaging. Really cool artwork. And I like how they have the Razor Crest flying with X-Wings being pursued by TIE fighters over a planet. That looks really, really awesome. That is a removable backdrop that you can use as a dio with the toy if you so choose to do so. Okay, so here we have Boba Fett Slave 1 outside of the packaging. And I must say, it is extremely impressive. The attention to detail, the features, the paint applications, as well as the scale of these toys all come together to make a really nice collectible. And I must say the miniature action figures are no less impressive. And I want to take a look at those first before we look at the ship. So here you have Boba Fett and Fennec Shan. And as you can see, these are really nice figures. They did not skimp on these figures at all. They have nice paint applications on them, really nicely done, and they are correctly scaled to Slave 1, as well as to the other figures and vehicles and ships in this line. Now, if you're curious about the actual height of the figures, I have brought out a micrometer. And we will take a look at that right now. I'm going to do this without removing them from the packaging, same way I did for the Millennium Falcon. So Boba Fett is approximately, let's see, it's 25.4 millimeters. And Fennec Shand is 23.6 millimeters in height. Really nicely done. Okay, so here we have Slave 1, and I've backed the camera off so that we can get a good look at this. As you all can see, there's a lot of nice detailing in this ship. Really nice paint applications, weathering all the way around. They did not cut any corners when they made this toy. It is really, really nice. The one thing I noticed that they didn't do was paint in the panel lines or apply a wash to them, but that's okay. I'll take care of that for them. Really, really nice. And let me rotate the camera up so that you guys can see. That's what it looks like in the forward position. And you can see that the cockpit and the stabilizers automatically rotate when it's upright. And on the back side, you can see it's got a lot of nice detailing. Black and metallic wash here in these recessed areas on the thrusters. A lot of molded detail in the bottom. And you've got the hidden compartment with the sonic mines on it. Flip it back around, you've got the rotating blaster cannons, and they rotate 180 degrees. So really nicely done. You've got an opening compartment here on the side, and inside here is the armory. You guys can see that. And let's see if I can get the ramp to, there's the extending ramp. And then you've got opening cargo door there. So it opens all the way up like this. And then you can push the ramp back up into place if you so choose to do that. But really, really nicely done. And that armory swings out. You guys can see that. That there. You can just close it like that. The cockpit opens up. There's the detail in the cockpit. And there's some molded detail, if you guys can see that, on the control console there. Boba Fett sits, and there's little clips to hold them all in place. That's really cool. And you guys can see when you fold it like that, it rotates like that. Really, really nicely done all the way around. Okay, let's talk about adding the action figures to the playset. You can see I've got Boba Fett and Fennec Shand standing beside Slave 1, and they are correctly scaled to the starship itself. Not only are they scaled to the ship that they are included with, they are also correctly scaled to all the figures, vehicles, and spaceships in this line. So I'm going to move Fennec out of the way for a second because I want to point out something to all of you about Boba Fett. You guys can see him here. And you can see he has on his jetpack, and that is removable. And you have to remove that to put him in the cockpit. And I'll show you where it goes in a second. So let's zoom back in on the ship. And I'm going to open this compartment back up. And you guys can see the armory. And you can see that little port right here. That's where Boba Fett's jetpack goes. So I'm going to use these hobby tweezers to try to get it to go into that port. There we go. You all can see that there. Now to put the action figures in the cockpit. You're going to take him and fold his arms up, just bend him at the waist. And I don't know if you guys can see these little clips right here. His legs are going to go in there. And we'll take Fennec Shand cockpit. There we go. You can see that they're both in there. So now when you close the canopy, both the action figures are seated in the cockpit. Now for those of you curious about the scale of the ship, Slave 1 is approximately, looks like it's right at 7.5 inches in length, and it is right at 6.5 inches wide, and at the tallest point it is 3 and looks like 3¼ inches tall. Now for comparison, I want to bring out the Millennium Falcon so you guys can see what they look like together. And again, they are correctly scaled to each other. This is the actual size of these starships compared to one another. I gotta say, they look awesome together. And if you haven't seen my review on the Millennium Falcon, go back and watch it. It's a video before this one. That thing is beautiful. It is a work of art. You can see how nice they look side by side. These toys are well worth the cost. Overall, I have to say I am impressed. I really am. The Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron line by Jazzware exceeds any expectations that collectors and fans could possibly have about this line of miniature ships and vehicles. Slave 1 is phenomenal. Despite not having a wash on the panel lines, this is still a really nice looking toy. I'm extremely hesitant to paint in the panel lines on it because it's just so nice. The attention to detail, the features, the paint applications, and again, the scale of these toys, all of that and more makes this one of the most collectible lines to ever be released under the Star Wars banner. If you're a collector, you definitely want to add these to your collection. I have two, one of each, one to keep in the packaging and one to play with, because these are the launch edition ships and they won't be produced again. As for the value on these toys, that is only going to exponentially increase. I'm willing to bet that within the next year, you will see the Millennium Falcon and Slave 1 going for at least $200 on eBay. So there you have the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Boba Fett Slave 1 by Jazzwares.